Why does a continent so rich in resources and talent often remain at the bottom of the world's economic ladder? Africa is home to vast mineral wealth, fertile land, and a young, dynamic population. Yet, despite these advantages, millions still struggle with poverty, unemployment, and lack of opportunity. The question echoes across the continent. What holds Africa back from reaching its full potential? Kenyan scholar Professor P.L.O. Lumumba has a blunt answer. Africa's core problem is a crisis of leadership. He doesn't mince words when he says that the continent's greatest challenge is not a lack of resources, but a lack of visionary, ethical leaders who put the interests of their people first. He argues that many African leaders act as hunters, exploiting their own people instead of serving them. Instead of being shepherds who guide and protect, they become predators, focused on personal gain and power. Power is used not to uplift nations, but to enrich a select few, fueling cycles of poverty and despair. The gap between the wealthy elite and the struggling masses grows wider, creating frustration and hopelessness among ordinary citizens. This isn't just about a few corrupt individuals. It's a deep systemic issue rooted in decades of poor governance. Corruption, nepotism, and lack of accountability have become entrenched in many institutions, making real change difficult. Many leaders remain trapped in a colonial mindset, relying on outdated Western models and accumulating unsustainable foreign debt. Instead of forging new paths tailored to Africa's unique strengths, they often repeat the mistakes of the past, leaving their countries vulnerable to external pressures. They speak of progress, but their actions betray their true priorities. Promises of reform and development are made, but too often these words are empty, serving only to maintain the status quo. In a 2025 speech, Lumumba urged Africans to break free from the prison of history and demand forward-thinking leadership. He called on citizens to reject complacency and insist on leaders who are accountable, transparent, and committed to genuine progress. The real question is simple. Do leaders serve their people or themselves? Are they willing to listen to the voices of ordinary Africans? Or are they only interested in their own legacy and wealth? Africa stands at a crossroads, and its future depends on solving this leadership crisis. The decisions made today will determine whether the continent moves forward or remains stuck in old patterns. The time for change is now, a revolution of mindset and accountability, not violence. It's about demanding leaders who are honest, innovative, and truly dedicated to the public good. The continent's destiny hinges on the choices its leaders make every day. Each decision, big or small, shapes the lives of millions and sets the tone for the next generation. Will they build or will they exploit? Will they invest in education, health, and opportunity, or continue to drain resources for personal gain? The answer will shape Africa's future for generations. The hopes and dreams of millions rest on the emergence of a new kind of leadership, one that is bold, compassionate, and visionary. It's time to demand better. The future of Africa depends on it. What does corruption look like in practice? It's not always dramatic or obvious. Sometimes it's as simple as a handshake behind closed doors, or a favor exchanged for silence In many African countries, corruption has become so normalized that it's woven into the fabric of daily life, affecting everything from business deals to basic public services. Professor Lumumba calls it impunity. Leaders believing they're above the law, untouchable by the very systems they're meant to uphold. This mindset allows them to act without fear of consequences, eroding trust in justice and governance. Many of these leaders were once hailed as freedom fighters, symbols of hope and change. But over time, some have transformed, seeing themselves as entitled to power and wealth, forgetting the ideals they once championed. This sense of entitlement leads to massive theft. Billions meant for hospitals, schools, and roads are siphoned off into private accounts abroad. The result is crumbling infrastructure and a lack of basic services for ordinary people. While leaders live in luxury, driving expensive cars, residing in opulent homes, ordinary citizens are left to struggle, often lacking access to clean water, healthcare, or quality education. The gap between the rulers and the ruled grows wider every day. Weak institutions make this possible. Courts, investigators, and the press are often silenced, threatened, or controlled. Without independent oversight, corruption flourishes unchecked, and those who dare to speak out face intimidation or worse. When officials are caught, they're quietly dismissed, not prosecuted. Rarely do they face real justice. This sends a dangerous message. Corruption has no real consequences, and the cycle continues. Corrupt leaders manipulate the public, controlling media, and spreading misinformation to protect their interests. They shape the narrative, making it difficult for citizens to know the truth. They exploit ethnic and social divisions, turning communities against each other to distract from their own greed and mismanagement. This division weakens any collective demand for change. The result? A cycle of corruption that persists for generations, stalling progress and dimming the hopes of millions who dream of a better future. The people remain divided and uninformed, while leaders continue to loot, growing richer as the nation grows poorer. Cost is paid by every citizen every day. This is how the hunter mentality destroys nations from within, slowly, relentlessly, leaving scars on both the land and its people. Breaking this cycle requires more than just new leaders. It demands strong, independent institutions and an informed, united public willing to hold power to account. Only then can true accountability begin. And only then can Africa's promise be fully realized. Stolen billions aren't just numbers. They're lives lost and futures stolen. Every dollar embezzled means less for clinics, schools, and clean water. For a pregnant woman in a rural village, corruption can mean no doctor, no medicine, and no hope. Africa's youth, the continent's greatest asset, are denied quality education and opportunities. Frustrated graduates face unemployment or are forced to leave, fueling brain drain. Corruption robs not just the present, but the future. It erodes trust. People lose faith in government, in each other, and in the possibility of change. Cynicism grows, and corruption becomes normalized. This vicious cycle tears at the fabric of society. Breaking it is essential for Africa's progress. Trust must be rebuilt for any real change to take root. Amid the darkness, a new kind of leader is emerging, one who serves, not exploits. Captain Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso is a prime example. He rejected presidential luxuries and focused on security and dignity for his people. Traore's war on corruption wasn't just talk. He redirected resources to ordinary citizens. This leadership model puts the nation first, especially regarding natural resources. For too long, foreign companies have taken Africa's wealth. New leaders demand fairer deals. National sovereignty and people-first governance are at the core of this movement. The old guard resists, but the youth are inspired. They see what's possible when leaders genuinely care. The seeds of a leadership revolution are being planted. Change is slow, but hope is growing. The future depends on nurturing this new style of leadership. Africa's youth are watching and demanding more. This is just the beginning. The Traore effect in Burkina Faso is inspiring a continent-wide blueprint for change. First, fight corruption from the top down. Audits, arrests, and zero tolerance for impunity. Second, redirect resources to real needs: security, schools, clinics, and rural development. People see tangible improvements, building trust in government. Third, assert national sovereignty, break dependency on foreign aid, and renegotiate unfair contracts. Traore's bold stance, especially in the mining sector, has made him a Pan-African hero. This model is spreading, especially among the youth, who crave dignity and self-reliance. The message: leaders can serve the people, not rule over them. The Traore effect is a challenge to the old guard and a beacon of hope. The push for new leadership across the continent is tied to an even bigger, more ambitious dream, one that has inspired generations: a truly united Africa. Visionaries and thinkers like P.L.O. Lumumba passionately call for a United States of Africa, a continent with one leader, one currency, and one central bank. They imagine a future where Africa speaks with a single powerful voice. Imagine traveling from Cairo to Cape Town without ever needing a visa or passport, crossing borders as easily as moving between states. Picture a single African currency, strong enough to rival the dollar or euro, making trade and business seamless across the continent. A unified military force could protect Africa's interests, respond to crises, and keep the peace without relying on outside intervention. It would mean African solutions for African problems. This vision isn't new. Decades ago, independence leaders like Kwame Nkrumah dreamed of a united continent, believing that only unity could secure true freedom and progress for all Africans. Africa's borders were drawn by colonial powers, often splitting communities and families and fueling decades of conflict and division. These artificial lines still shape politics and lives today. True unity would help undo this painful legacy, giving Africa real influence and a seat at the table in global affairs. It would mean African voices are finally heard and respected worldwide. In a world dominated by economic giants like the US, China, and the EU, a divided Africa struggles to compete. But united, Africa could become an economic powerhouse, unlocking new opportunities for its people. Unity means setting Africa's own agenda, negotiating better deals and solving problems together on Africa's terms, not anyone else's. The dream is bold and the challenges are real, but more and more Africans see unity as essential, not just for survival, but for prosperity, dignity, and a brighter future. Only unity can unlock Africa's true potential, allowing its people to shape their own destiny and thrive together as one. The power of unity is a timeless truth, echoed in cultures and sacred texts worldwide. Professor Lumumba often cites the Bible's message: there is one body and one spirit, one hope. Regardless of faith, the metaphor is clear. Unity brings strength. Imagine Africans seeing themselves as one body, pain in Nigeria, felt in South Africa, joy in Kenya, celebrated in Ghana. This shared identity is the foundation for a united Africa. Moving beyond tribal and national divisions is essential. The Pan-African project is about embracing a common destiny. Unity is the spiritual and emotional core of Africa's future. The power of one can overcome any obstacle. The dream of a united Africa is inspiring, but the path is tough. The biggest obstacle? Leadership. Many current leaders benefit from division and won't easily give up power. National identities, built over decades, are deeply rooted. Overcoming them requires a new generation taught to value continental unity over narrow nationalism. Economic and legal differences between countries add complexity. External powers may try to sabotage unity to protect their interests, but change is possible. If a leadership revolution takes hold, unity must be driven by the people, not just politicians. Grassroots movements and youth organizations are key. Regional blocs could be the first step toward full unity. The journey is long, but not impossible. Africa stands at a crossroads: division and corruption, or unity and progress. The choice is urgent. Continue with the status quo, or demand accountability and visionary leadership. Corruption isn't abstract. It's why children go hungry and graduates can't find work. Only a revolution in leadership and mindset can break the cycle. The United States of Africa may seem distant, but it's the logical answer to Africa's challenges. Unity would bring prosperity, peace, and global influence. The youth must lead, rejecting cynicism, learning their history, and demanding more. Support leaders who serve the people and champion Pan-African unity. The road is hard, but the reward is a free, strong, and prosperous continent. Africa's future depends on unity. For Africa to rise, it must unite.